need favor. Put that one there and go help your brother.
Hi, Gary here, and welcome to a book mob. I've had internet problems all weekend, and I just got my internet back. Anyway, today's episode, we're going to be looking at the new book by Bret Easton Ellis, The Shards. Now, if you don't know, Bret Easton Ellis wrote that book American Psycho, and that film was made. And I remember I saw it in Ireland, and on the ticket it said American Physio. So anyway, so let's get to it. American Psycho author Bret Easton Ellis gives us The Shards. I mean, it's like 600 pages. Huge. He also wrote Less Than Zero, which, this is similar sort of grounds of character, settings. It's wealthy, it's money. But in this book, he kind of shoves and pushes and grinds sort of a group of selfish, tortured people, and they just end up in some really, really nasty abyss. But the thing is, they're all school children, and they, driving Porsches and got money to burn. And I know it's a book, and I know it's fantasy, and I guess there are people like it. Perhaps in American society, material expense when you're 16, 17 is for some a totally different experience. But it does have that complete hub, that hum of selfishness. The single-minded lifestyle where they're sort of, these characters are encased in a bubble of, they're a protected class. They're kind of nihilistic. It's more like a rotten boys and girls own adventure book. I went through various stages when I read the book. It's like I said, it's near on 600 pages. And I think I read it in 3 days. I just got stuck into it. But it's about corruption. That's right. I had a quote. I wrote a quote here. It said, I said, adults are either missing or completely and utterly corrupt to the level that their decayed agency leaks toxic pus from every word of this novel. As Ben Obi-Wan Kenobi said about the Mos Eisley spaceport, you will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious. Basically, Shards' spaceport is littered with hateful characters, and they're grotesque. I don't know if, it's a novel, yeah, but I'm trying to find some redeeming quality, something to make you smile. It's entertaining, but it's sort of, I don't know, it's this sort of basic hedonistic lifestyle on steroids. It's nihilistic in the sense that their universe is as small or as large as their own scope of reference to the world. Material goods, drugs, sex. No real sense of humanity in this book. It's very cold. And I guess Ellis is writing a story about those types of people. Or, on the other hand, he's writing about these types of people because he's experienced them or he knows them. Perhaps, I deliberately didn't look up about Ellis's life and all that because I didn't want to say, oh, well, he lived this kind of life from, so I've just sort of stayed away from the idea that that he's drawing on personal experiences, and I guess in some senses he is. And it's the bisexuality and the coming and going of relationships, and it's just a sense that there's no point being alive unless you live a Hollywood lifestyle and drive fast cars and, have sex at the drop of a hat and take any drugs you want. There's no sort of effect. There's no payment. And the parents, these absent parents, these are children. They're school kids. And in some way, it's unbelievable that this is a novel about a serial killer. I mean, I guess it's a book about. At the end of the day, it's basically a book about rich people, rich young people, rich children behaving like adults, whilst the adults are nowhere to be found. I mean, there's no sense of compassion. And I wrote here, perhaps it's easy for Ellis to create a densely hollow, one-dimensional fantasy land because he either has lived the experience or has a gifted insight into the shallowness of the human condition of these particular people. Brett appears as himself as a garbage bin for pharmaceutical products and an emotionally barren sex fiend. It's a pretty tough read. I mean, it's gruesome. It has been structurally, it's well written, and it does keep the pages turning, but it bogs down. I mean, you go, and you just get tired and overwhelmed. So it's basically episodic tales submerged in booze, drugs, fucking, and violence. You know, words make stories, and books are great. And I'm sure that Ellis is a storyteller of quality. I mean, I did enjoy reading American Psycho, because the difference between American Psycho and this book is that American Psycho was really pared back. I mean, it was pared back it was clinical. And I think that sort of was trying to demonstrate the inside of the character's mind. Whereas this one is just littered with, I don't know, God, just annoying, weak people. Anyway, so I guess maybe, I actually wrote a note here. I said, perhaps my own childhood, which was bland and boring, where the teenage years of these characters stirred up my envy and jealousness directed at cool groups I was never a part of. That I was ugly and poor and opposing me all the good-looking, sexually active adult wannabes at high school were living some beautiful hedonistic lifestyle that I could only imagine. In a sense, my youthful inadequacies resulted in an erotic, hateful outlook towards my peers, which was rightfully returned by the Bret Easton Ellis types. So it's about, if you think back to your own childhood, your own school days, where groups and classes, and I mean class of as in rich, poor, indifferent, whatever, and I guess anger can come from being resented by other groups. Maybe my reading of this book is sort of tapping into those insecurities that I had when I was 15, 16, and 17. So at the very least, Ellis provoked in me a intense reflection on my my high school days. All right, what else did I say? So basically, American Psycho, his book that is still wrapped in plastic, by the way, compared to The Shards, because they are featuring the same bland, narcissistic, violent, inhuman, material zombies, I guess. I mean, I didn't enjoy reading it. I had moments where I enjoyed it, but it just overhangs with such a, you just go, what is the point of these people's lives? And you really, you don't really care about the people who get murdered. I mean, it's like a murder mystery at the same time. I mean, like I said, it's well written. Obviously, I mean, it's a challenging book to read. Who could I don't normally recommend books. I talk about books because of how they make me feel, not who should read them, because I think reading a book is a time risk, and you really, really need to know before you start that you're going to go sit through with it. I never at once wanted to stop reading it, but I did want it to end. So, in a sense, it's a sort of self-flagellating reading experience. Though well written, filled with characters, thought out. There is a story, there is a narrative. And I think that there is obviously an audience for his books. So my recommendation at this point is, if you're going to read it, be prepared for a punch-drunk experience. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and looking forward to coming up with another episode of Book Mob. Have a great day.